Chapter 14. Nancy's Disguise. The sun blazed overhead when Nancy and Bess finally came within view of the rambling old Blue Iris Inn. The wooden building stood lonely and forlorn, in a spot shaded by tall pines. Flower beds, including the iris from which the inn had taken its name, were choked with weeds. After parking some distance from the inn, Nancy and Bess advanced cautiously in case Mr. Tombar should be around. Their attention was focused on the windows, all of which were boarded. "This place gives me the creeps," Bess said. "It sure is no place to have a picnic." Nancy laughed. It really could be fixed up very attractively. The girls circled the inn, peering through chinks in the boards which covered the windows. To their amazement, they could see that most of the rooms on the lower floor were cluttered with boxes and crates, many of them with lids nailed shut. "Looks like a warehouse," Bess remarked. "I wonder if these came from tailors," Nancy said. "Snecker works in the receiving and marking room, and he's a friend of Tombar." "Do you think they may contain stolen goods?" "Maybe, Bess. I wish we could get inside and open one of those cases." Nancy made a careful inspection of the windows and tested every door. She quickly reached the conclusion that the building had been effectively barricaded. "Let's leave, Nancy," Bess urged. "I guess we'll have to." Nancy sighed. "But you know, Bess, this puzzle is beginning to take a definite form. Remember the charge plate that I found on the railroad track? Well, it must have belonged to Snecker. Now, unless those cartons contain Blue Iris furnishings, I'm convinced there's something fishy about their being here." "I think so too, Nancy. But if it should turn out that they're filled with goods from the inn, wouldn't we look silly reporting it to the police?" "I'll do a little more checking," Nancy agreed. "Let's get back to town." After eating the delicious picnic lunch Bess had prepared, Nancy drove her friend home, then went straight to her father's office. Through people he had contacted, she learned that at the time the Blue Iris Inn was sold, all the furnishings had been disposed of at auction. She asked his advice about telling the police her suspicions. "Well, actually, you haven't much to go on," he said. "Find out whether Tombar himself bought some of the furnishings at the auction." Nancy set off for the auctioneer's shop. A short distance from it, she met Mr. Leitner. "I'm glad I ran into you, Miss Drew," he declared cordially. "After you left my office, I was trying to reach you by telephone. I've been for a ride in the country. I've arranged for you to attend the party this evening. It's to be a masquerade." He added, smiling, "Leitner's costumes are at your disposal." "How about my being a maid in the women's cloakroom?" "Very good. A splendid place for scrutinizing guests. Come with me now and I'll find an outfit for you." Nancy decided to postpone her call to the auctioneer's office. At the entertainment company, she selected a well-tailored black dress with white collar and cuffs and a dainty ruffled cap. "I have some news for you," Mr. Leitner said, walking with Nancy to the front door. "I'm taking Linda Seeley back." "Oh, I'm so glad!" To have Linda reinstated in the firm was a great relief to Nancy. Nevertheless, if the series of thefts which had damaged the company's reputation continued, Linda might be blamed again. That makes this party tonight an important one, Nancy thought. Oh, I do hope everything goes along without trouble. Upon arriving home, Nancy was pleasantly surprised to find Ned Nickerson lounging on the porch. "School books are locked up," he joked. "Ned, I'm glad to see you. What's in the box? A new dress for a date with me tonight?" "Maybe." Nancy told him of her plan to play the part of a maid at the Dwight party. "How about coming with me? I think I could get you in as a checkroom boy. Want to help me catch a couple of masked thieves?" "Well," Ned replied, Since you put it that way, the answer is, naturally, yes. But what do I know about checking men's hats or coats? It's easy, and maybe you'll spot one of the Velvet Gang. I'll telephone Mr. Leitner." Arrangements were made for Ned to obtain a uniform and assist the regular checker. "Now bring me up to date on the recent happenings," Ned urged Nancy. "Remember, we didn't have a chance to talk alone on Friday night." Rapidly, she related how the thefts threatened Mr. Leitner's company with ruin. She told him about Peter Tombar and Ralph Snecker and their apparent association. "I'm inclined to think that both of them are mixed up in the thefts," she concluded. "The Velvet Gang may be working with them. At any rate, I want to investigate the Blue Iris Inn further. I'm surprised that you and George haven't been out there tearing the place apart board by board," Ned remarked, grinning. At mention of George's name, Nancy sobered and told him of their friend's unhappy state of mind. "Her parents are worried, and so am I," she said. "We can't understand what's wrong." "I'm sorry to hear that," Ned said. He went home to dinner, but was back at the Drews by 7 o'clock. "You're a very handsome checkroom boy," Nancy declared when she saw him in his uniform. "How do I look?" "Lovely, but not natural. What a hairdo!" "I had to disguise myself as much as I could." "Be careful tonight, both of you," Mr. Drew advised as the couple left the house. "I'll wait up until you're home safe." Mr. Leitner, who had arrived early, was waiting for Nancy. He whispered that every precaution had been taken to avert another robbery, and no trouble was expected. "6 plainclothesmen are here to watch the guests. Nothing can go wrong." Nancy and Ned were assigned to separate cloakrooms upstairs. Nancy found herself paired with a rather indifferent maid named Hilda. "All we have to do is stay here and help the ladies with their things," the girl told Nancy. "Just don't get the stuff mixed up, that's all." For the next hour, Nancy checked guests' belongings efficiently and quickly hung them on racks. Many of the costumes worn were very lovely, and she recognized some as having been rented from Leitner's. Masks were of every form and shape. Nancy could not identify anyone. After the dancing had started in the ballroom below, Mr. Leitner came upstairs. He informed Nancy that no guest had appeared without a properly marked admission card. Relieved that no suspicious person had been observed, Nancy relaxed a little. Hilda stretched out comfortably on a lounge. "We'll have a few hours now with nothing to do," she advised Nancy. "Take it easy before the rush starts." Nancy preferred remaining alert and was standing near the door when a tall man in a striking costume came up and presented a check. "Madam needs her coat," he said in low tones. "A long, dark green one. Hurry, please." Nancy glanced intently at the stranger. She could not see his face plainly, for a white silk scarf that matched his Moorish costume served to mask the lower portion. His intense black eyes disturbed her, however. She knew the coat he meant without comparing the numbered tickets, for there was no other like it. Deliberately, she took her time, pretending she could not find the garment. "Hurry!" the man urged again, speaking with a slight British accent. More suspicious than ever that he was the thief she had previously encountered, Nancy purposely turned her back and maneuvered to run her hand into the inner pocket of the coat. Instantly, her fingers encountered something made of cloth and very soft. She quickly took out the object. It was one of the masks used by the daring members of the Velvet Gang. After tucking the velvet hood back in the pocket, she took the coat from the hanger and handed it to the man. With a suggestion of a French accent, she inquired, "Madame is ill. She is leaving the party so soon? Perhaps I can help her." "No, thanks," he replied, still keeping his face muffled in the white scarf. "I'll attend to her." As soon as he was gone, Nancy told the dumbfounded Hilda, "You're in charge here alone now." Unmindful of the maid's protests, Nancy hurried down the hall in pursuit of the man carrying the green coat. Passing the room where Ned was stationed, she gave him a prearranged signal. Immediately, he joined her at the stairway. "What's up?" he asked quickly. "Keep an eye on that man in the Moor's costume," Nancy whispered. "No matter what happens, don't let him escape you." From the staircase, the couple saw him move directly to a bent, white-haired old lady with glasses who was waiting in the hallway below. She was not costumed. Nancy and Ned watched intently as the man solicitously helped the woman put on her coat. Then they parted, the man turning toward the dance floor and his companion moving slowly toward the entrance at the side of the house. "Follow him, Ned," Nancy whispered excitedly. "I'll watch her." Ned started off in pursuit. The man dodged in and out among the dancers and finally headed toward the kitchen. He pushed open the swinging door and darted inside. Determined not to lose track of the man, Ned also slipped through the door. He found himself in a large pantry and caught sight of his quarry disappearing through a door that apparently led to the basement. Heedless of possible danger, Ned hurried across the kitchen. Reaching the entrance to the cellar, he opened the door and peered down the steps, at the same time flicking the basement light switch. The cellar remained dark. The man must have removed the bulb, Ned thought, in order to hamper pursuit and allow time to escape through the basement exit. Lighting a match, Ned cautiously descended the stairs, looking for the fugitive. He was not in sight. By the time Ned reached the bottom step, the match was burning his fingers and he dropped it. As he started to light another, Ned felt a thud, then a searing pain in his temple. The blow sent him sprawling on the cement floor, his head throbbing. He had been ambushed! End of chapter 14.